Hey everybody, it's Chad Hasty, and yes, it's time to talk about the audio that everyone in Texas politics seems to be talking about or really staying silent on, and that is the secret taped audio between Michael Quinn Sullivan, Speaker Dennis Bonnen, and State Representative Dustin Burrows. Now, of course, I've been talking about this on the show. On Thursday, I interviewed State Representative Jonathan Stickland. He said quite a few, some would say incendiary things about the audio that he heard. Want to thank, by the way, some of the Texas statewide media for picking that up and correctly identifying the show. There are some others of you who did not do that. Shame, 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 but it doesn't surprise me at all. I do thank those who correctly identified the show and also picked up on our interviews with not only Representative Stickland, but also Scott Braddock. In the interview with Stickland, he said that not only were deals offered, but also not only a deal for credentials for Empowered Texans, but also that they would revoke the credentials of Quorum Report and Scott Braddock. Now, I hesitated making this video because who knows what's going to happen between the time I make this video and you watch this video. It can be a completely different story by the time you watch this. But one thing that keeps popping up, and I saw this in a piece, I believe it was the Dallas Morning News here. Texas GOP must drop hammer on Empower Texans after Dennis Bonnen, Michael Quinn Sullivan dust up. Now, okay, listen, I don't think it's any secret that a lot of the statewide media, they can't stand Michael Quinn Sullivan and they can't stand Empower Texans. But to be ticked off at Empower Texans for this? Really? Empower Texans, Michael Quinn Sullivan was invited into the speaker's office or wherever this meeting was held. Michael Quinn Sullivan was allegedly offered this great deal for media credentials if he were to be nice to most of the Republicans and most of the legislative session, but only target 10 other Republicans, the so-called now X-Men in the Texas House. So I fail to see here how Empower Texans are the bad guys. I fail to see here how Michael Quinn Sullivan is the bad guy in all of this, unless you're saying that it was wrong of him to secretly record this meeting between himself, Dennis Bonnen, and Representative Dustin Burrows. So let's talk about that. I briefly touched on it on my show on Thursday, and I'll probably bring it up again on Friday. I have never secretly recorded anybody. I have never secretly recorded any lawmaker, any politician out there. It's weird. I find it weird to do that. But Empower Texans, they have been known, and some of their, I guess, subgroups or whatever, have been known to secretly record people. And I think most people know that. And Dennis Bonnen going into this meeting, if he didn't know that, then something's wrong there, and I think he made a mistake on this. I guess not thinking that this interview or this not even an interview, but this discussion wouldn't be recorded. I'm not going to blame Michael Quinn Sullivan. I'm not going to blame Empower Texans for secretly recording this. You know, everybody has their own deal. Everybody goes about meetings in their own way. Again, I would not have done it. I don't think it's really ethical to do it, but at the same time, you know what? Michael Quinn Sullivan's looking out for his own backside, and I can kind of understand where he's coming from. You've got to know sort of the history here. Speaker Dennis Bonnen has not liked Empower Texans for years, has spoken ill of Empower Texans for years. Empower Texans and Dennis Bonnen have butted heads numerous times on numerous issues. Dennis Bonnen went after Empower Texans after Empower Texans called Dennis Bonnen a liar when it came to the constitutional carry deal. So it doesn't surprise me that Michael Quinn Sullivan went into this going, listen, I don't want to be set up here. I don't want the speaker coming back and lying about me. So I'm going to record it just, for my own, for my own protection. I'm going to record this thing. It's very weird that the Dallas Morning News, and listen, I respect some of the folks over at the Dallas Morning News. I think there are some very good writers over there, but it's really weird that the editorial board would take issue with Empower Texans on this specific issue. Now, listen, does that mean that I've agreed with Empower Texans on every single little thing they've done? Absolutely not. But in this, if the recording is accurate, and if Michael Quinn Sullivan's reporting is accurate, they're the victim. They are not they are not the folks who are to blame for this. There are other people to blame, and I'm sure I'll be talking about that in future videos. But I want to see how this all plays out, and I want to give the speaker a chance to clear the air. I want to give Dustin Burrows a chance to clear the air. None of this is good for Lubbock. None of this is good for the state of Texas. None of this is good for the Republican Party. None of this is good right now at all. And that's why the pieces need to come together. Okay, we need to have some resolution to this. It's been over a week now, and we need to have a resolution to this, and we need to have it soon. If I was Michael Quinn Sullivan and I wanted clicks on the website, maybe I hold this until next week. But I reiterate my call that I did on social media that the full recording needs to be released. Whether it's good for the Republican Party or bad for the Republican Party, good for Dustin Burrows or bad for Dustin Burrows, good for Dennis Bonnen or bad for Dennis Bonnen, it needs to be released. The people of Texas need to hear this. When you have a Republican Party that talks about draining the swamp in Washington, D.C., I think they feel the same way in Austin, Texas. So Empower Texans, Michael Quinn Sullivan, I'm looking at, I'm reaching out to you, buddy. Release the full audio. Don't release just a portion of the audio. Release the full audio and let people hear what went on behind closed doors. If it was that horrible, that terrible, and that corrupt, if you will, then it needs to be exposed. It needs to be exposed to everybody out there and to the people who care about what happens. The recording secretly, I'm not a fan of that. But whatever. I don't necessarily blame Michael Quinn Sullivan if he went into this meeting thinking that something bad was going to come out of it. So I don't blame him. I wouldn't have done it. I've never done it. I will probably never do it. But I understand where he was coming from. This story has so many twists and turns, and right now is not good for anybody involved. Not even for Michael Quinn Sullivan and Empower Texans, because, now he's officially been outed as a guy who records his backroom meetings. So there might, he might face repercussions from this when you have other lawmakers who now say, I want nothing to do with Michael Quinn Sullivan in a private setting. Nobody's coming out the winner on this thing, it seems. And if the audio is correct, and again, we've had Representative Stickland on the show to talk about this. There have been at least two other, by the time, as I record this, two other lawmakers who have heard this audio. They say it's true. They say it's accurate as to what Michael Quinn Sullivan had to write. It's not good. Not good at all. And we need to have some resolution to this pretty soon. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time. News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 a.m. KFYO. If you missed my interview with Representative Jonathan Stickland, you can find it here on the KFYO YouTube channel, KFYO.com. You can also find my interview with Scott Braddock as well here on the KFYO YouTube channel and on KFYO.com. Have a great day.